Yo, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Most Low Budget Movie Reviews. I am your host, Clarence. Thank you for tuning in. As you guys know, I always try to give you the latest in streaming, primarily on Netflix, because I think they have some of the best originals, or maybe the best originals, movies that is. So I'm looking at the top 10, and the movie I thought would be at the top was ranked number 5. Which I will still watch this weekend, so stay tuned for that. So I'm not going to talk about that one at all. So I looked at what was number 1, and it was something called Love in the Villa. Now, I have avoided doing the last few chick flicks that were ranked number 1. There was that Purple Hearts thing, and then those 365 movies, which I just refuse to watch. For now, anyway. I'm sure eventually I'll get curious and watch them, and yeah, maybe I'll do one podcast on all 3 of them and get it out the way. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. But mainly I avoid those because if I'm not in the mood to watch, a chick flick, so to speak, I'm not going to be very fair to it. So as I stated in the past, I have my favorite genres, but I will still watch anything and judge only what's on the screen. And I do like a good romance from time to time. But me being single, I'm not really forced to watch these kind of movies very often. So I kind of got to be in the mood to watch one. Now, the last chick flick I saw was Senior Year. That was that Rebel Wilson movie a few months back. Go check out that episode if you haven't listened to that. So instead of skipping this one, I decided, you know what, I'm going to watch it. And, check it out before I get into anything more serious. I have some other things I need to watch this weekend, and they have, a darker tone. So let's start out with something lighthearted. So, what is Love in the Villa about? Well, we start out with this teacher who's about to go on a romantic getaway to Verona, location in Italy where the Romeo and Juliet whole thing took place, and, it's supposed to be super romantic setting. Well, she's out to dinner with her boyfriend, and he dumps her before the trip, stating he needs some space. But she should still go. And she takes that advice. She decides that she's still going to go. Now, nothing is going right for her. The whole trip is like, getting there is like a nightmare. Now, she finally gets there to the villa that she rented for the week. But there's some other guy that's already in there. And there's some error due to double booking. And he's not the most friendly guy. So what now? And actually, that's where I'm going to stop. Because from there, they fight over the villa, and but eventually end up getting along until this mystery guest shows up and kind of ruins things. Will this doom their budding relationship? So what did the pros think? Well, they came in at a 55% on just 11 reviews, with the audience at a 42% on less than 50 reviews on the Rotten scale. But most importantly, what did I think? Well, let's start out with the positives. Now, the leads in this were both really good, very likable. They had, pretty good chemistry, and I thought they looked good together, which is, very important for these type of movies. The progression of the relationship also felt right. How it went from adversarial to kind of neutral to, friendly, then, things got romantic. They didn't rush into the situation and, then just pull the rug out. They didn't do that. It kind of was a gradual climb up there. And, like I said, I appreciate the way they did that. Now, this is a rom-com, and I felt like the romance parts were really well done. The discussion they had during the whole courting situation where they're on their date doing the tourist thing, down to that last discussion when he's telling her why he's there and he loves her, and he finally admit he loves her and all that good stuff. And no, that's not a spoiler. Of course they end up together. All these movies, they always end up together. Very rarely. I've only seen maybe one, and I think what was it called? The Breakup. Jennifer Aniston and Vaughn. I think that one they actually break up, and they don't end up together. But the movie was called The Breakup, and they delivered on the promise. But anyway, you know they end up together, and it's just going to be a matter of the journey getting there. And that's where my negatives start, because I just didn't believe them. I mean, the pranks they played on each other to try and make the other one move out of the villa, they weren't all that lighthearted. They were actually kind of mean and vicious. And nowhere are their reactions equivalent to their personalities. So all of that felt fake and manufactured. There was this food fight that was especially bad. I mean, she's standing right in front of him, and he's like literally throwing over her head and like clearly trying to miss her, which, you know, it just didn't look good on film. They really should have reshot that again to kind of make it a little bit better. Again, I did like the progression of, you know, the relationship and all of that, but it just wasn't authentic to who they were as people, who they introduced them as. That just didn't feel authentic. So I just don't think they get to the point after what they were doing to each other up until that point. Now, rom-com formula is in full effect here. They're opposites and they disagree and they argue, but they're attracted to each other. Then they find out they have common ground and realize, hey, I kind of like you, I kind of like each other, which quickly moves into falling in love. And then there's the conflict at the beginning of the third act that threatens their budding relationship, which eventually gets resolved and, you know, they somehow, you know, live happily ever after, right? So this movie's no different than all of that. But again, the conflict. Now, if they want to believe all the stuff that happens before this conflict and, you know, the people that they were, then his reaction and ultimately her reaction just not consistent with that at all. And I'll stay spoiler free here, but this wouldn't have been that big a deal, the actual conflict. I think he would have disposed of that situation right then and there, so it was clear he was in love with someone else based on the way, you know, his personality was. But I don't want to beat this one up too much. Let me bottom line this for you. Did I enjoy it? And I'm going to say almost, not quite enough to recommend it. I agree with the critics here and put this at a 55% on a rotten scale. That is about right. It was very close to getting a fresh score from me. Like I said, it was great performances, the chemistry between the leads, the actual falling in love part was well done and felt real to me. And I actually wanted to see them end up together and wanted to see how all this got wrapped up once, you know, the conflict happened. Now, I could see that part happening. This movie was brought way down with the cheesy slapstick stuff, the lack of genuine laughs, the whole little prank war that they had going on. Just felt the tone was off for me for that. They didn't get the comedy part right at all, which is, you know, half of the equation. But if you are a fan of romantic comedies, this one isn't bad. Most likely you'll like it way more than I did, since this isn't really my genre. But like I said, this isn't a bad movie at all. I think it's definitely a few levels above a Hallmark or a Lifetime movie, which to me, in my book, is pretty good. So yeah, if you're into romantic comedies, check this one out. I'm sure, you'll probably find a lot to like in this one. With that being said, I'm going to close it out right here. If this is your first time, don't make it your last. This has been a Podbean production, mostly low-budget movie reviews with Clarence, up on all streaming platforms. So wherever you listen to your other podcasts, you can definitely find me on whatever platform that is. And yes, I will be back again real soon with at least one more review, maybe two, maybe three more, depending on how my weekend works out. But since this is a 3-day weekend, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to get at least two more up. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that. Make sure, like say you're subscribed, or, you go to my Facebook, I post everything there, click those links, and definitely keep up to date and check me out. I appreciate the support, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.